Don't let her near the wedding cake. Brian snapped, his voice loud enough to silence every laugh and the clinking of champagne glasses around the dessert table. She didn't even bring a gift, he added, each word dripping with mockery, like he was hammering in a public humiliation no one asked for. But what Brian didn't know was that the comeback would hit harder than anyone could have imagined. Before we dive deeper, leave a comment and tell us honestly, what would you do in this situation? Be real with us down below. We read every single reply. Let's begin. Okay, go. Heads turned. Dozens of them. People shifted in their seats. Laughter flickered and faded, and there I was, Alyssa Hart, standing still in my pale blue dress, holding a quiet smile surrounded by faces that once pretended to love me. I glanced at the cake, a 5-tiered custom centerpiece covered in delicate sugar roses, sitting under a spotlight like it had more right to be there than I did. Brian, my older brother, smirked and leaned into his fiancée, Lauren, who gave a fake little pout and said, "It's okay. Some people just don't understand etiquette." Her eyes barely concealed the glee behind the faux concern. I didn't move. I didn't argue. I didn't cry because I already knew what was coming. The DJ's voice suddenly crackled through the speakers, breaking the awkward tension. Sorry to interrupt," he said. "But before we continue with the first dance, I need to make a quick announcement." He adjusted the mic, looking directly toward me. "I was asked to thank the person who made this entire night possible." Brian's smirk froze. Lauren's fake smile twitched. "Every single dollar for this event," the DJ continued, "was covered by one guest, front to back. Venue, food, decor, even the dress alterations for the bride. So maybe we could offer a little gratitude." There was a pause, a ripple of confusion. Then his voice dropped just enough to cut through the air like a razor. "Ladies and gentlemen, can we all thank Miss Alyssa Hart?" A gasp tore through the room. My mother dropped her champagne glass. Someone at the head table muttered, "Wait, what?" I didn't blink. I just turned slowly, stepped away from the cake, and walked toward the microphone. I could feel everyone's eyes on me. Finally looking, really looking instead of judging. I took the mic gently from the DJ's hand and stared right at my brother, who had gone pale as stone. "I didn't bring a gift," I said, my voice clear, unwavering, "because I was the gift." Silence. "I paid for all of this," I continued, letting the words settle because I thought maybe for once I'd be part of something real with my family. I thought maybe they'd look at me and not see a burden, a failure, a walking embarrassment. No one moved, but instead I was told to stay away from the cake. My father stood up halfway like he was going to stop me. My mother whispered, "Alyssa, please." I turned to the guests. Every time he laughed at me, I remembered something. I didn't need to be invited to belong. I built my place here. And then I smiled, soft and controlled. "Since you all seem to enjoy the evening so much," I said, pulling out my phone, "don't worry. I'm not asking for anything back, but the venue staff just texted me. The overtime clause starts now." Brian shot up from his chair. "Wait, what?" "You'll need to cover the next hour," I added, "or the lights go out and the bartenders walk." "What the hell are you doing, Alyssa?" Lauren hissed, her voice rising. I shrugged, teaching a little etiquette. The room erupted, not with cheers, not with outrage, but with silence. Heavy, ashamed silence. Faces dropped. Some guests glanced at each other with wide eyes. A few even clapped quietly at first, then louder. But I wasn't there to perform. I handed the mic back to the DJ, walked straight past my mother's frozen stare and my father's clenched jaw, and exited the ballroom. And just as the door closed behind me, I heard Brian shout, "She'll pay for this." But he had it backward because I already had. Outside the venue, the night was still. The valet barely glanced at me as I stepped into the cold air, probably assuming I was just another guest who'd had too much drama for one evening. But I wasn't rattled. I felt released. I walked past the row of luxury cars down the quiet driveway of the estate-sized venue I had personally booked 6 months ago, back when my brother called me out of the blue to check in. I should have known then, should have seen the trap, the sudden interest, the fake affection. But like every fool desperate for family, I wanted to believe the lie, and tonight I ended it. My phone buzzed in my palm, Mom. I let it ring. Then came Dad, then Brian, then the texts. Alyssa, what the hell are you doing? You're humiliating your family. Come back and apologize right now. I blocked all three. I didn't know them another breath. 2 days later, I was back at my real life. A tiny but sleek design studio on the edge of downtown Raleigh. My company, Heart and Ink, was born in a moldy basement 4 years ago when I was laid off and broke, eating instant noodles and designing logos for $20 on Craigslist. Now I had 5 full-time employees, 2 interns, clients flying in from New York, but none of them knew about my family because I never brought them up until that wedding. Until the moment they laughed about a gift I wasn't holding without realizing I was the one who kept the lights on. That afternoon, I walked into the studio to find my assistant, Naomi, wide-eyed and holding up her phone. You're trending. What? She turned the screen. A video, me on the mic at the wedding. Someone posted the clip, she whispered, captioned it the sister they didn't want until she paid for the whole thing. It had 2.3 million views. I felt the room tilt. Oh, and look at this. Naomi clicked another link. Buzz TV just messaged, asking if you'd speak on their podcast about toxic family, financial abuse, and personal triumph. I laughed, a real low laugh, but inside I was shaking because I knew this wasn't the end. That night, as I sat on my couch flipping through emails, the doorbell rang. I opened it to find Lauren. Yes, the bride, standing on my porch, face blotchy and red, mascara smudged like she'd cried through the wind. Alyssa, she started. Wow, you came without security. I'm flattered. She flinched. Please, I didn't know. I thought Brian paid for it all. You never asked. She looked down, shame painting her features. They're all freaking out, your parents, your brother. He got demoted at work because of the clip. The board saw it, said it showed poor judgment, publicly humiliating the family member who funded your wedding. Not exactly leadership material. I said nothing. She stepped closer. They want to talk to you. I tilted my head. So they sent you? No, I came on my own. I wanted to say, she paused, breathing hard. You didn't deserve that. I saw your face when he said what he said, and it just hit me. How many times have we stood by and let them talk down to you like that? I crossed my arms. Every single time. Her lip trembled. I'm sorry. I exhaled. A long, heavy silence passed between us. Then I stepped aside. Come in. She blinked. Really? You're not them? I said quietly. But this doesn't mean I forgive everyone. She nodded, stepping inside, the weight of the drama dripping off her like soaked lace. Little did I know that was the beginning of a new war, because behind Lauren's apology was a storm brewing, and I had no idea what they were planning next. But I was ready. I wasn't the same girl who used to sit quietly at the corner of the family dinner table, smiling through insults and swallowing guilt. They laughed at me once. Now they'd watch me rise, whether they liked it or not. 3 days later, I received a formal letter, not a text, not a call. A letter folded neatly into an envelope and hand-delivered by a courier. It was from my father. Alyssa, we would like to invite you to a private family dinner this Sunday. We believe things have gotten out of hand, and as a family we need to speak face to face. We hope you'll attend with an open mind. No apology, no acknowledgement, just a summon, like I was a rogue employee being called into HR. I almost tossed it, almost. But I learned something over the last week. I didn't need closure from people who built their pride on my silence. What I needed was clarity. So I RSVP'd. Sure, but I won't be staying long. Sunday came fast. I showed up at my parents' house at 6:02 p.m. sharp. Same beige house, same perfect lawn, Same feeling that used to twist my stomach every time I walked up those brick steps. My mother opened the door. "Alyssa," she said, like it was a chore to pronounce. "You look different." "I stopped apologizing for existing," I replied. "It helps." She gave a tight smile and moved aside. Inside, the tension was thicker than the overpriced candles they always lit for guests. My father stood by the fireplace. Brian sat on the couch, jaw clenched. Lauren wasn't there. "Have a seat," Dad said. "No thanks. Let's get to it." Brian rolled his eyes. God, still so dramatic. "You called this meeting, not me." I interrupted. "So speak, or I'll go." Dad cleared his throat. "The video you allowed to go viral has caused damage." I let out a laugh. "Allowed? I didn't post it." "Well, it reflects poorly on all of us," he snapped. "Brian lost a major account because the client said he seemed entitled, and your mother was humiliated at church." "Oh no," I said deadpan. "Not church. Alyssa." Mom sighed. "We didn't come here to fight." "Then what did you come for?" I asked, to guilt me into disappearing again, to remind me that no matter what I achieve, I'll never be more than the weird sister with too much ambition. "We made mistakes," Dad admitted, his voice lower now, "but you made them public. And now I'm the one holding the mirror," I replied. "If you hate what you see, that's not my fault." Brian finally stood. "You always thought you were better than us." "No," I said slowly. "I hoped we could be better together, but when you mock the only sibling who helped fund her wedding and laugh when she walks in, what exactly do you expect?" My mother put her hand on my arm. "Alyssa, please, let's just fix this." I looked down at her fingers, perfectly manicured, just like always, the same hands that once pulled mine away when I tried to hug her in front of guests. "There's nothing to fix," I said. "I'm not broken anymore." I stepped back. "I'll send you the invoice for the wedding costs. You can pay me back if it makes you feel better." "That's not necessary," Dad muttered. "No," Brian snapped. "We're not paying her a damn cent." "Then we're done here," I said, turning toward the door. "You'll regret this," he called after me. I paused. "No," I said over my shoulder. "I already did, but not anymore." By the next morning, a new email sat in my inbox from Buzz TV. "Alyssa, your story is resonating everywhere. Would you consider a live interview on our Tuesday night segment? We'll cover travel accommodation and give you full editorial control." The universe was giving me a choice: stay silent again or use the mic I never got growing up. I clicked reply. Let's do it. But none of us knew what would come after that, because someone in my family had already started digging through my past, desperate to find a way to shut me up. They weren't just ashamed anymore. They were terrified. That's when everything changed again. Tuesday evening, I was in full makeup, sitting on the Buzz TV soundstage with soft lights warming my skin and a mic clipped discreetly to my blazer. Across from me sat host Erica Gaines, her calm voice already known to millions. "We're here with Alyssa Hart," she began, the woman whose quiet act of generosity lit the internet on fire. A video clip played on a side screen. Me at the mic, calm but powerful, saying, "I didn't bring a gift because I was the gift." The crowd in the studio clapped. "Erica, you've said nothing about your family since the clip went viral. Why speak now?" I looked into the lens, not for the camera, but for every silent daughter, every overlooked sister watching from their own corner of the world. "Because silence protects the wrong people," I said. "For years I thought if I just worked harder or stayed smaller, they'd love me more. But some families don't want growth, they want your obedience." The interview aired in real time. My inbox exploded. I gained 37,000 followers in 4 hours. But as I left the studio that night, my phone buzzed with a call I didn't expect. Naomi, frantic. "Alyssa, have you seen what your brother posted?" I pulled over and checked. It was a grainy, clearly doctored screenshot of an old invoice from my first client job 7 years ago, cropped to make it look like I'd overcharged them and got sued. "So proud of my sister for speaking her truth," Brian captioned sarcastically. "Just hope she tells the whole truth, like the time she faked invoices to stay afloat. The post had 22,000 likes in an hour. I sat in my car, staring at the screen. He wasn't just angry. He was trying to destroy me. I could have stayed quiet, but I'd already lit the match. The next day, I posted a short video. No filter, no polish, just me. Hey, it's Alyssa. So apparently my brother wants to make this messy. Let's clear something up. I held up the actual document unfolded from a sealed archive folder. This is the original. No lawsuit, no fraud, no drama. Just a client who changed scope mid-project and refused to pay the difference. I paused, my eyes on the lens. And if trying to start a business while broke makes me a villain, then I hope there are millions of us. I ended it with, you can smear me, but I own every scar I earned getting here. Let's see you do the same. That video hit 6 million views in 24 hours, and then something unexpected happened. Lauren messaged me again. You need to see this. Brian's unraveling. He's talking about suing you for defamation, but his company is already reviewing his contract. They're watching him. You've got power now, and it scares him. Power, not revenge, not spite, power. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't afraid of having it. That weekend, I received another letter. This time not from my parents, but from their lawyer. A formal notice requesting that I cease all public commentary damaging to the Hart family's reputation. I took a photo of it and posted it to my story with 3 words. I'm not sorry. The backlash came swift. Their church friends turned cold. Brian's business contacts disappeared, and Lauren filed for a separation. I married a man who didn't even flinch while humiliating his sister, she texted me. Now I'm the one ashamed. But I wasn't done. I wasn't going to hide while they panicked in silence. I planned something final, a reunion, but not the way they expected, because I was going to put every truth on the table one last time, not for revenge, but for freedom. 2 weeks later, I hosted a dinner, not at my parents' house, not at a hotel ballroom, but at my studio. A long, rustic wooden table was set up in the middle of the main design room, dimmed pendant lights, hand-folded menus, real silverware, not for luxury, but for finality. I invited just 4 people, Mom, Dad, Brian, and Lauren. They all showed up. No one spoke when they walked in. I motioned for them to sit. They did, tense, fidgeting. I didn't serve appetizers. I served truth. I invited you here not to fight, I said calmly, but to end things the right way, with facts, with grace, and with a mirror. Brian scoffed. We've had enough of your little performances. Then leave, I replied. But I think your wife wants to stay. Lauren didn't look at him. She looked at me. Go on, she said quietly. So I laid it all out. How they used me for money, for convenience, for silence. How every time I was excluded, they said it was because I was too different, when the truth was I made them uncomfortable because I changed. How they turned my success into a joke and my voice into a threat. No one interrupted, not even Brian. When I finished, I stood. I don't need your apologies. I'm not here to be forgiven. I'm here to say I won't let your shame wear my name anymore. My mom blinked hard, trying not to cry. Dad cleared his throat, but said nothing. And Brian? He looked defeated. Lauren stood too. You're stronger than any of them know. Then without another word, I walked out of my own studio and left them at the table. 3 months later, I published a memoir titled The Quiet One, Paid for Everything. It hit the bestseller list. I didn't write it for revenge. I wrote it for every woman who paid the price for a family that never saw her worth. And at every signing event, someone would whisper, that story felt like mine. I'd smile because I knew now that was the gift I brought. And if you've ever been sidelined, ever stood quietly in a room you secretly paid for, you know exactly how that feels. Leave a comment if you've ever been overlooked while carrying the weight. Share this video if you know someone who's been silently holding it all together. And if you're still living to please others, ask yourself, how much more will it cost you? Subscribe for more stories that are raw, brave, and painfully real. Because sometimes you don't need an invitation. You just need to know your worth.